do you mean this isn't Christmassy music? Maybe we'll be putting We Three Kings on. I think I'll find that. It's my mother's favorite Christmas carol. She is big on, instead of the commercial Christmas carols, the religious Christmas carols. I see that, certainly. And put We Three Kings on here on Tri-City Sports Now and so anything. I also just got a tweet from John Feinstein. Excuse me. By the way, you can follow us on Twitter at NBC Sports. What is it? NBC. What is this now? You can follow us on Twitter on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. NBC Sports Tri. At NBC Sports Tri. That's our Twitter. And you can tweet me if you so desire. Or so you can just follow my own Twitter. I get into Twitter wars with people. At Marky Billson. It's no big deal. And we can, get on that with there. Obviously, we're on Facebook Live right now. You can see the new sweatshirt that I got for Christmas here. So my family is still dressing me even at this age. I did want to point out that John Feinstein tweeted me, and he said, I'm probably the only one who misses the blue-gray game. He writes back, make it 2. All right, 2 people still living in the past, huh? I still thought Northern Kentucky was in the Atlantic Sun Conference. By the way, so did the women's basketball team at ETSU on Friday when they were outscored 40-17 by the 1-9 Horizon Conference members, Northern Kentucky. And it was the Lady Bucks' 8th loss of the season to fall to 6-8. I do want to talk, this is our first chance. We'll talk to, I think we're getting Steve Forbes on tomorrow. Steve Forbes will be on at 1 p.m. He's tentatively penciled in. Let me talk a little bit about the incredible ball game that the men played, though, to go to an 8-4 record against a good Georgia Southern team who falls to 9-4, at one point outscoring the Eagles 19-0. For ETSU fans, does it wipe away the memories of the 2001 Southern Conference tournament? No, it does not. But what it does do is, one, I always talk about a 2-bid league. How can we have a 2-bid league out of the Southern Conference? Had on Ken Pomeroy on Friday. 2-bid league. And he's, it's even tougher for, say, the Missouri Valley, which was 6th in RPI not that long ago during the heyday of Wichita State, and getting 2 teams into the NCAAs when Wichita State leaves the Missouri Valley and goes to the American. By the way, it's been a real push, I think, just like there was at ETSU, to have football come back at Wichita State. Phil Fulmer coached at Wichita State. Bill Parcells coached at Wichita State during the 70s. At one point, a very respectable football program. And, well, I mentioned that could going to the American be that much more of a attraction to restore the football program at Wichita State. Okay, this is Tri-City Sports Now. I'm talking ETSU here. A 19-0 run against Georgia Southern, as I said before, and what it really does is, I think the SoCon is a good league. I think there are as many as 6 teams that can win it. I do think the Citadel will be down, especially after they dismissed their best player earlier in the year. And, of course, Chattanooga is also supposed to be down. But just look at Wofford beating both Georgia Tech and North Carolina this year. Now look at ETSU beating, other mid-majors like Northern Kentucky, and yes, they did lose them as well, but also defeating now Georgia Southern. This is a team that figures to make some noise now. A very deep team in the Southern Conference, ETSU. I still think I picked UNCG. I love Francis Alonso. I'm not giving up on him. But I'm most impressed in this out-of-conference season with Wofford due to their 2 big victories.
ETSU next plays in a couple days. Tusculum, I love that game. I love the fact that ETSU, when they have a tune-up game, is playing Tusculum, local college. They get to look like the big boys. Tusculum gets a check from what looks like an altruistic, benefactor, if you will. Remember, Mr. Jennings his team almost beat he almost beat ETSU last year. So anyway, the Southern Conference, like I said, the ETSU Buccaneers, Southern Conference moving ahead, maybe the Sun Belt in terms of basketball prestige, at least on that day when you take one of the SoCon's best and a former SoCon member and the current SoCon member, ETSU, beats the old one, thinking that they were going to go to bigger and better things in Georgia Southern. I thought it was a very big victory. I thought it was a statement game, and not only in explaining the talent of ETSU, but also the talent of the conference at large. Women's basketball, unfortunately, not so much. Anyway, ETSU will next play in the women, North Greenville, on the 29th. That's a tune-up game for them as well. It's just not quite as, locally interesting as Tusculum. The other reason I like ETSU and Tusculum playing on that day is it takes local interest away from from the infamous high school basketball tournament in Bristol that I don't really care for. So, with that, I like I like the fact ETSU is playing Tusculum. I also like the fact UCLA has suspended Jalen Hill and Cody Riley for the rest of the season. Why not? Speaking of current, they're the guys who, along with Ball, were arrested for shoplifting in China. You knew as soon as UCLA was playing Georgia Tech in China that was going to be bad news. So, what can you say? I mean, you knew that was going to be bad news. Why would you even be playing that game? Just asking to get into trouble. You tell me. There are a couple of NFL games going on later on tonight, and they begin actually nationally televised, taking the place of the beloved blue-gray game. But they're big games. As I said, is it 1980 all over again? You've got Houston and Pittsburgh. Then you've got the Super Bowl 15 participants, at least the franchises. At least they can still be before Oakland moves to Las Vegas, shedding its image as the hardcore rap team to become the team of Steve and Edie and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are looking for any identity since, really even Carson Wentz went down. But to tell you the truth, since about 1960, that's a rematch of the Super Bowl from 1980, actually played in 81. But, just sort of, I noticed that. Of course, the difference with the Texans instead of the Oilers. The Oilers are now the Titans. We all know this. But just sort of a trip, when you're going down memory lane when you're watching the ball games here this evening. If you are a new Tennessee Titans fan, however, trust me on this. You need to be rooting, if you want the Titans to make the playoffs, for the Steelers tonight against the Texans. 4:30 kickoff in Houston. Why? Very simple. The Steelers clinch a bye in the playoffs if they win the game. Additionally, the Jacksonville Jaguars will clinch the 3rd seed. And the KC Chiefs have already clinched the 4th seed. And what this means is that the Jaguars they will be playing the Titans tomorrow. I shouldn't say tomorrow, but this Sunday. And guess what? That means that the Jaguars will have nothing to play for. That means that it's time to rest the starters. That means Chad Henne plays quarterback night, Blake Bortles. That means Leonard Fournette, he gets the bye. And they bring Chris Ivory out. That means the second string will be playing for the Jaguars. And the Titans, who seem to be going nowhere fast, well, if they win the ball game, they're in the playoffs. They reverse that trend. Mike Mularkey saves his job. Dick LeBeau proves he's immortal. I like Deshae Townsend. I'd like to see him continue to coach in the NFL. Defensive backs coach of the Titans. Titans would make the playoffs with a victory against the Jaguars, who would be going in a going out of business sale. Now, I have seen teams playing the second stringers. And normally what that means is that the first team is going to win. There is one exception I could tell you about, however. That was back in 2004. The Steelers had everything clenched when they went to Buffalo. Buffalo was still looking for a playoff berth. The Steelers had won 13 games in a row. It was Ben Roethlisberger's rookie season. They started Tommy Maddox. They started, I forget who was at running back. It wasn't Willie Parker, though, I don't think. They just, it was a time for rest before the playoffs. The Bills, who were at home, needed to win. One of the very few times I can remember, but the Steelers were just so good. They were 15-1 that year, won the Super Bowl the next. And they beat the Bills in Buffalo. And the Bills had the indignity. They were 9-7, failed to make the playoffs. A lot of people say that in fact, there have been sources that have actually said that the Bills of 2004 are the best team to not make the playoffs since the NFL expanded to 6 teams out of every conference making the playoffs in 1990. How's that for an, backhanded compliment? You're the best team not to make the playoffs. I mean, but no, that's what they said the Bills of 2004 were. There's only one problem with that as I tell you this story. The head coach of the Buffalo Bills in 2004, in his first season as a head coach, the head coach that lost to the second stringers, that would be Mike Mularkey. Take that for what it's worth. When we come back, I am going to be telling you a little bit more about some of the football games. What is this with Jimmy Garoppolo? Has he become the best quarterback in the NFL? How about it in history? He's never lost a start. The 49ers are talking Super Bowl next year. I give him a chance to do it. Tri-City Sports Now.